sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We've had a lot of discussions, predominantly are about the former president, President Donald J. Trump. However, today is going to be slightly different. Make no mistake about it, regardless of how you may feel about number 45 President Trump, he is not running for office in a vacuum. There is a competitor out there. There is someone that is challenging President Trump for his effort to become the nation's 47th president. That is indeed Joseph R. Biden. And there is no mistake about the numbers. The numbers do not lie, as you often hear in the sporting world. The polling numbers for Biden are dismal. And today we're going to talk about just that. With President Trump facing 91 charges, indicted 4 times, impeached twice, why the hell is Biden polling either not far above Trump or in some polls even doing worse than the former president? Why is Biden's poll number so damn low? That's what we're going to talk about today. A lot of folks on the left are suggesting that maybe fuel prices are not Biden's responsibility. Some folks are suggesting that maybe inflation is not totally Biden's fault. Folks are talking about the job numbers under Biden are fantastic. Biden himself is using terms like Bidenomics to tout what he is doing as somehow a good job. Nevertheless, even among liberals, the wish is that someone else would step forward and take over the reins of the Democratic Party. So that's what we're asking folks. With Trump facing so much legal trouble, folks suggesting that Trump is so corrupt, how the hell is Biden not seizing on the opportunity? Why is his poll numbers so poor? And like I just stated, even among his own party, his poll numbers are not great. You can't explain this away from any other aspect other than his poll numbers suck. So that's what we're going to be asking today. Why the hell is Biden performing so dismal in the polls? Maybe there are some of you folks who do not believe the polls. A lot of folks do not trust what they see on the media. I get it. But it does not seem to be a poll in existence that portrays Biden in a favorable light, even when directly compared to President Trump. Why the hell is that? That's what we're talking about. As always, the program is and shall forever remain MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are always welcome on the program as well. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. Understand when you come in the box, nobody gives a damn if you disagree with the host. You'll never be censored or have your time limited simply because you disagree with yours truly. We are a strong proponent of free speech, and that will always be observed. Looking in the comment section, because he was vice president of a black president. Wow, Grilla, so you're saying Biden's poll numbers are significant. I mean, they're poor. Biden's poll numbers are dismal simply because he once was vice president under Obama? Racism or dislike for Obama is what's affecting Biden's poll numbers? I don't know if I buy that. I don't know. I understand there's folks who do not like Obama. I get it. But you believe that's the only reason his numbers are that low is because he was once affiliated with Obama? That does not explain one bit why his poll numbers are so paltry in the Democratic Party, which overwhelmingly favored Barack Obama. If Barack Obama was hurting Joe Biden, you would see that along party lines. Folks on the right were not big fans of Obama. Folks on the left loved and reveled Obama. But when you look at Biden's poll numbers, they're bad on both sides of the fence. So I don't know if I can quite buy that is simply because of his ties to Obama. Looking in the comments, I've never been surveyed, says Mark Mahone. Neither have I. But just because you or I have not been surveyed does not mean folks who represent our sample of the population have not been served. By the way, in regards to the notion that we have not been surveyed, which is true, there are a hell of a lot of social media pages like this. I talk to folks like you talk to folks like me. And even among ourselves, we're not championing how great President Biden is. So to some degree, you have been surveyed. Maybe not necessarily by the pollsters, but we're all on social media together. Show me a liberal site full of Democrats, leftist loving individuals that are suggesting that Biden is so great and doing a really good job. Let me show you 1,000 of them in regards to President Trump. I can show you tons of liberal sites that are suggesting that Trump sucks. Where are the liberals suggesting that Biden is a great president? I'm not hearing it. Why is that with all of the criminal charges that Trump is facing? Going to the box. We'll start it out with Quantum Stereo Radio. That's a mouthful. Quantum. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. We're talking about Biden's dismal poll numbers. What say you?
Hey, thank you for having me up, brother, as always. I think it's a messaging thing with the DNC. The messaging about his policies, the messaging about what he has done to try to help with inflation, prescription, and other things that he's been doing. The DNC for the last 6 years, actually 7, their messaging has been abysmal. And Brother Harrison, who's in charge of the DNC, has to step up his game. When we talk about polling, MSNBC yesterday or 2 days ago, Kornacki was on there with a Wall Street Journal polling showing the Biden numbers, showing the Trump numbers, but only 600 people were surveyed.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, who's not even more passionate about politics, she was so angry about that. That why would MSNBC show a poll with only 600 people?
Well, let me ask you to you. And I do agree that not enough people get polled, but at the end of the day, we realize they cannot poll everybody. But let me ask you this question: do you believe the average liberal, the average Democrat, is doing better under Biden than they were under Trump?
Financially,
yeah,
I'm going to have to say that the average liberal is doing way better due to the job numbers, right? Wages have increased maybe slightly, but I think they have done better because under Trump, right, people tout that $2 trillion tax cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
That supposedly was supposed to trickle down to other people. But then you find out that that tax cut did not benefit the middle class. Actually,
Right.
People had to pay more taxes
Yeah,
afterwards.
but I get your point, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing. But when I say we're more liberals doing better under Biden than Trump, the jobs numbers were actually fairly phenomenal under both presidents taking COVID out of the picture. However, the amount of spending power due to inflation, you don't see a difference between, say, Biden and Trump when it comes to housing prices, price at the pump, things that we may say Biden is not responsible for, but we're certainly dealing with it under his presidency compared to Trump.
I would say this. Let's look at the factors behind that, right? Let's look at how the Prince of Saudi Arabia decided he was going to hold back barrels, right? He was not going to dispense barrels out there. And then what happens? Gas prices go up, fuel prices go up, right? The housing crisis, right? We're dealing with a situation where greed has taken over a factor to the point that people's rents. I was watching a TikTok the other day, 2 ladies who paid $2,500 a month. Their landlord told them they're going to be paying $9,500. Right? We got to take a lot of things into factor. Now, don't get me wrong. I think a lot more could have been done, right? But look what he's trying to do, right? I'm able to at least apply to get my student loans, right? From 30 years ago, my student loans disqualified, right?
Okay.
I don't know if I'll find out if I'm eligible, if they approve it. But the fact is that he's given people the opportunity to at least ease their burdens financially, right? But nothing corporations are still greedy. Walmart
But
prices are
let's talk about corporate greed, because under Biden, fuel prices are shot up. Many folks say that is the greed of the OPEC nations. Like you mentioned, housing. Maybe that's the greed of your landlord or the mortgage company. Yeah, appreciate that. Had mustache. I didn't see who sent it, but thank you there. That was Jay Gard. Thank you. Appreciate your generosity. But what I want to ask you is this. If we're going to attribute a hell of a lot of corporate greed to certain entities under the Biden administration, it goes back to the question, why the hell weren't they doing this under Trump?
Well, I mean, people will say I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but under Trump, these corporations were able to get a lot of tax abatements. The PPP money. Look what happened under the Treasury.
Well, but let's, like I said, taking COVID out of the picture, even before COVID became an issue in late 2019, the corporations were not exercising the amount of greed you're talking about that they're doing under Biden.
Well, think about it. Of course they're not under Trump, because the fact is that they prefer to have a conservative, right? Depending on the corporation, right? I'm gonna say, for example, the Murdochs, the Cargills, the Mars, these are people that are going to support a person like Trump. Alderson, before he died, the guy who had the casinos in Macau, how much money he put into Trump's coffers.
So let's go with that. So if all of these folks that we may not favor are putting money behind Trump, and it's translating to all of us having more spending power, I have to ask, is that really a bad thing?
But how much spending power do we really have under Trump? How much? I mean, people were working 3 to 4 jobs.
Quantum, you're talking about mortgages being given out now at 7% interest rate. We had a lot more spending power, and I lean left, but there is no denying when you go to purchase groceries, you're paying significantly more for a hell of a lot of items than you did under Trump.
But are we understanding that they have taken advantage of inflation? They've used inflation as an excuse to raise prices, to gouge, and basically tell people, hey, look, you know what? We got to pay fuel costs. We got to pay such and such and such, right? My point is that we can take into account that corporations favor a guy like Trump because they know that their taxes, right? That their taxes are going to be lower than anything. Trump is going to fight. I remember New York City, right?
Okay.
Daily News, 1996, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he was thinking of running for president. People don't remember this. There was an article in the Daily News where he spoke that if he was president, he would make sure that he wanted a lifetime ban on taxes, that corporations and people like him would pay 10 years worth of taxes. Then after that, they would never have to pay taxes again. True article, right?
Okay.
I've been trying to find the article, but this is his mentality.
But listen to what you're saying, and I'm no fan of trickle-down economics coming from the Reagan era. You're essentially painting trickle-down economics under the Trump administration as if it was successful. He gave huge corporate tax breaks to the corporations, and according to you, that kept them from exercising a hell of a lot of corporate greed, which makes Trump look financially like a successful president.
Did it not trickle down the way it was supposed to the middle class?
You just said it did. But you just said it did.
I never said, no. I said corporations loved it, but it never trickled down to the middle class and the other people. No, we know that for a fact. Corporations love Trump.
But think about wait a minute. You're saying one thing, but listen to what you stated in your response to me. Is I asked you why were the corporations not exercising all sorts of greed under President Trump, and you stated because he gave them these tax cuts. So in other words, it trickled down to us. He gave them tax cuts, and they decided not to gouge us citizens.
Listen, man, I'm not going to say that. I mean, it may sound like I said that.
Yeah, it did.
I'm telling you, it did not favor the regular people under Trump, right? People are still working 3 to 4 jobs, man.
Yeah.
People, so I mean, it's like it's. Listen, I'm not against free markets. I'm not against that. I'm just against free markets and companies that take advantage of the regular folk who are working hard every day, who are out there busting it like yourself and everybody else like us, who are out there working, trying to make a living for their families, right? If we want to blame Biden for inflation, then let's look at the factors that happened why inflation arose at the time after Biden took office. Let's look at we can say COVID had a major factor in that. A lot of these companies, right, that were working remotely from home right now are trying to get people back into offices, right, because they know that productivity has been down. So there's a lot of factors behind that, man. But my thing, as far as Biden and his poll numbers, is the messaging. The DNC has to do a better job of getting the messaging out there. On these apps, especially on TikTok, you see a lot of discord amongst young people towards Biden, right? They talk about his age. They talk about, you know, they look at something that's on YouTube or posts and automatically like, well, you know.
I don't think when it comes to, and I agree with you 100% that the DNC needs to have a better job with messaging. However, when you're talking about electing a guy for president that's going to be over 80 years of age, I don't know what messaging you can put out to make that sound like that's a good idea. I think it's kind of, that's a lost cause in regards to trying to make Biden look young and vibrant. I don't know what messaging the DNC could engage in to make that sound better.
Well, I mean, my thing is like this. I thought that Gavin Newsom, right, Whitmer, would try to make fun for it, right? Ever since Whitmer got elected in Detroit and in Michigan, I had told my wife, I said, listen, she's going to be a presidential candidate one day. Now all of a sudden you're hearing this story about her people trying to hide the Flint situation, you know, like there were emails.
Yeah.
They knew, you know,
I think that would be mild. I think that, if she ran, I do got to move it on, unfortunately, but I do believe if Governor Whitmer ran for president, maybe her handling of COVID might be a big issue, but what happened in Flint, I think the liberals, particularly going up against Trump, would be totally willing to forgive that. But I got to move it on, Quantum. Appreciate you coming in. Real quick.
One more thing, Marco. I'm going to say this to Republicans, right? You had a debate where one candidate showed they have a potential to rise out of that field and become a force to be reckoned with if she was to go against Biden, right? And that was Nikki Haley. I'm saying to Republicans, if you want to save your party, do yourself a favor and really look at the candidates that are out there and really evaluate, do you want a man who's been accused and already tried and already has to pay for SA? Do you want a man who basically has not really given you a policy he wants to do for 2024 and beyond? Do yourself a favor and choose a candidate.
All right.
Decide, but give you the best chance to win. But listen again, once again, brother, always a pleasure to be up here with you, and thank you.
Good talk, good talk. Now, I will say this in regards to what my last guest said. I've stated, too, that I believe, and he's right about what Nikki Haley stated at the Republican National Convention, is that Trump has his own level of toxicity, and he may not be the best candidate to put forth in regards to running for office. But here we're talking about Biden today, and even as someone who leans left, I am here to say that that situation also applies to us liberals. How many Democrats believe that President Biden is the best candidate on the left side of the aisle to put forth? How many people believe that are not working for President Biden himself? I would submit to you, it's got to be probably about 20 to 30% of us believe that Biden is the guy to put forward, other than the simple fact that he beat Trump before. Take that out of the picture, and he is the wrong guy to put forth for the job. Now, I agree also with my last call, and I certainly will return to the box after this statement. By the way, tap the screen, 500 plus of you folks in here. Get your boy up to 15,000 likes. You know we ask this on every program. Let your thumbs not be lazy. But I would submit to you, if Trump was not the competitor to President Biden, his poll numbers would be worse against the Republican Party. They would literally be worse. Because when you talk to liberals, and you ask them why they're going left versus going to the right side of the aisle, it's generally a lot of issues that are in relation to Trump himself as opposed to the party. Now, I understand abortion has become a new issue, and even Trump admitted that that is a bad idea, rolling back Roe v. Wade. But most of the liberal complaints about why they will not vote Republican are directly related to Trump, which means that if Trump was not running for the Republican ticket, a hell of a lot of that would go away, and Biden's economy would be the primary focus. Fortunately for folks on the left, they're not going to get rid of Trump. So you will still have those issues. But that doesn't mean that Biden's poll numbers do not suck, are not very they're just simply not worth bragging over. I mean, the guy right now on some polls are as low as 39%. Even among liberals, as I pointed out, his poll numbers are poor. Is it simply the messaging? Going back to the comment section, I'd vote for anybody except Trump. Wow. Sound like the anybody but Clinton phrase back from 2015 and 16. If you're economically literate, you should know that actions under Trump administration are being felt right now. I get your point, but as I often say, and that was a comment from YouTube, I often say that when you're the coach of a team, you don't get to blame who the former coach drafted for the team. You know, when this quarterback sucks, it was the last guy who drafted. When you're the coach of the team, you get credit for wins and losses. Doesn't give a damn what the last coach did. Your job when you run for office is to work with what you have and make it right. You don't get to blame other things. I used to say this about Trump all the time too, but now Biden and Biden supporters are trying to do it. You're the coach. Make no mistake about it. If things are going great right now, you think Biden would be saying, well, you know, it's because of Trump's policies that we're doing so damn well. No. So when things go bad, you can't do it either. When you're in charge, you're responsible for wins or losses, no matter how the hell we derived at them. You are responsible as a coach. As they often say, the buck stops here. Quit blaming everybody else when you're in charge of the free world. You don't get to blame everybody else. Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving. Arthur, David, Seuss, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. David Seuss, why the hell, with Trump going through so much turmoil, David Seuss, why the hell is Biden poll numbers so paltry considering how much legal trouble Trump is in?
Well, for me, personally, I'm a centrist. I'm not on the right. I'm not on the left. I listen to everything. I want to know everything information-wise. But for me personally, my lifestyle has changed because of Biden. And I know you can make many excuses for things that happen. But for me personally, when I have to put more money towards bills and food just to do the same thing week by week, then I don't need that.
Now, let me ask you, very similar to what the last caller was stating, do you believe the cost of inflation, fuel, and all of this stuff, do you think there's any price gouging by those entities, or do you believe this truly is all Biden's fault?
It's a combination of Biden and everything else.
Yeah.
So you can't put the blame on one thing. It's a combination of many things that are going on. And probably a good example of that is if you invite people to a party and you have one cake and it's divided into so many parts, not everybody's going to take one piece. So,
True.
you know, you got companies out there that want to make money. You got Biden that has his own agenda, and not that I'm anti-government, but a lot of people in the government aren't there for you.
That is absolute true. So let me ask you this then. If let's say Trump assumes power in 2024, do you believe he would get this inflation, high price of, at the pump, these ridiculous interest rates on mortgages and things do you think he would get that stuff under control?
He's a businessman, and my personal thoughts on him, I know he has a lot of personal issues, but I look at it like he's a father. So he's got kids. He's got generations to come.
They all have kids though, don't they?
Well, what I'm saying in that sense is that I think he's looking out for his generation. Like, he doesn't want his country to be a bad country. He wants it to be a country that makes money, because his kids and then his grandkids are going to benefit from those decisions.
His kids, wait a minute, hold on a second. Trump's kids and grandkids are set for life no matter, even if we go into a depression, his kids and grandkids are already set.
Probably so, but they're going to have to also have to live in an environment that's probably not good to live in. Like, who wants to live in a place where it's chaotic and things are going bad? Who's going to want to live in a place like that? Whether you have a lot of money or you don't have a lot of money, you have to live in that environment. So the environment, to me, makes a lot of sense.
So what you're saying, I want you to explain this, and I'll take any explanation you give, but I do want to hear your point on this, because a lot of folks, you're saying that Trump, but a lot of folks on the MAGA side of the aisle say Trump cares about America first and things like that. And you're saying he cares about what environment our children would have to live in. A lot of folks paint Trump as a narcissist and suggest he only cares about himself. Your definition is totally opposite of that. Can you explain why some people see Trump as only caring about himself, whereas you believe he cares about the country in general?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think he does have narcissism, but I think he has a concern on the other side as well. So I think it's kind of split with him. I'm not a 100% Trump guy. Vivek's there too as well. I'm not, Republican side. I'm not so sure about some of the other candidates that are there.
What about Chris Christie? What are your qualms with Chris Christie?
I think he's just trying to bring in more money, and he's not really trying to get a presidency. I think he's just trying to be in a spotlight.
And that's what I wanted to fight. When you look at Chris Christie and you suggest he's bringing in more money and he's not really trying to be a president, do you look at Vivek and suggest that he's actually trying to win? Do you really believe he's trying to win when he's up there saying that Trump is the best president we've ever had while actively running against Trump?
I think Vivek is not running for 24. I think he's running for 28.
Okay.
So,
all right. Fair point.
I think he's getting his feet wet to go for the target, but the target's not going to probably be this one coming around. It might be the next one. On the Democratic side, I'm wondering if Michelle Obama, if they can talk her into it, if she jumps in.
What do you think? Michelle versus Trump. What do you think? What do you think would happen? What would be the outcome?
Hands down, she's probably going to get it. To be honest, I think she'll get it. So, but here's the theories.
But why? Yeah, why do you think hands down Michelle Obama would beat Trump? I'm curious.
She's well liked. She's a well liked individual. My thought is, I've heard people say Obama's already running a third term because they think Obama's helping Biden with this term.
And see, I'm going to straight off tell you right off the bat, in regards to folks suggesting that Barack Obama is behind the scenes running the Biden campaign, even us liberals will quickly tell you the Biden administration is not being run anywhere near like the Obama administration. Like my last caller who leans left stated, the messaging from the Democratic National Convention or the DNC is poor. It was not poor under Obama. Obama had great messaging. Biden does not. So if Biden is running as a puppet to Obama, Obama would have quickly sensed that and corrected that. So I think that's about the best sign you can get, that Obama has nothing to do with what Biden is doing.
I think Obama does not have a lot of confidence in Biden because I don't think he did when he was VP as well. So that might be true.
Yeah, fair enough. But you do see Michelle Obama hands down beating Trump.
Yeah, I also see Gavin Newsom looking at the target.
Okay, Trump versus Newsom. What do you think would happen?
I don't know. When you get down to, so many factors going into something like that, I guess the thing comes down, for me, it comes down to trust. Can we really trust the systems that are set up? So, and I don't say that to blame Democrats. I say that to blame all politicians. How much can we trust the systems that they set up for us to vote in and
right.
to trust that system? We are talking about the government, the same government that.
Do you believe our election system is inherently flawed? You're mentioning trust in the voting system. Do you believe our voting system as is just completely flawed?
So I'll give you some of my personal experience. So I'm married into a Hispanic family, and people are trying to survive, trying to make ends meet and do this and that, and where opportunity is taken. So when I was in Santa Ana, California, you are able to buy a fake legal driver's license for about $50. This was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So there was a way to manipulate the system. Is all I'm saying. If there's
but won't there always be that?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So for me to put 100% trust in any type of system that's set up, all I'm saying is that it could be broken. Any system.
And that you would agree that that's going to be true no matter what you do. Even if you make everybody come to the polling office, show an ID, there are still ways to beat that system.
There is, and whether you're Republican or you're Democrat, it's going to be the same problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
We have to admit that it's not 100% always true. So with that in mind, we should have people making sure the best that they can to make sure that stuff like that don't happen. So rather than say it never happens, we should say, yeah, it probably does happen. Yeah. We need better ways of doing that.
So let me ask you this final question before I move it on. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very likely true, 1 being false as hell. I want to know where you rank on this scale. We just have both agreed that there are flaws in the voting system. Trump stated on election night he won by a landslide. Scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you believe that there is truth to him having won by a landslide?
I don't know about that because...
You don't have an opinion?
Not really. I'll tell you why. It's because I look at that like the same as a court case. Public opinion, yeah, is a good thing. But if you don't see evidence, like I don't personally see the evidence that they're talking about, like I'm not the person in the room looking at the evidence. So I can't make a fair judgment based on what I see in social media or what I hear in social media.
So what you're saying is right now, nearly 3 years after the election, even though he's saying he won by a landslide, you haven't seen any evidence to back that up.
No, because some of the documents can be fabricated. I mean, I don't know what I'm receiving. Some of the sources that people say, they might be flawed sources. We don't know. There's so much information out there today. Even with photos, we don't know what's been manipulated.
So why do you think he hasn't done a better job? If he's saying he won by a landslide, why do you think you folks like yourself is still saying, I haven't seen any evidence? Why do you think he has not produced the evidence yet? 3 years.
All that stuff, I think, needs to actually go into court. I mean,
hasn't he been in court? Hasn't he had 60 court cases already?
That's what I'm saying. So either you win or you lose. You take it into court, take your evidence, and then it's either you win or you lose.
Okay,
You lose, you
so
lose.
so we're nearly 3 years out. You're admitting you haven't seen enough evidence. You're admitting he's went to court dozens of times and lost. So where are you at on him, whether he won by a landslide or not? He's done everything you're saying. He didn't produce the evidence. He's taken it to court numerous times. What else is there?
I would say I would take it as a loss. I
Okay.
mean, personally, I would just take it as a loss and move on. So,
Right, fair enough.
I mean, we're looking at 2024, so why, 2020 is already passed.
All right.
So,
All right, Arthur. Definitely enjoyed conversating. Have we talked before?
no, first time I've ever done this.
Excellent. Well,
First time.
it's a pleasure having you on.
No, I saw you were left leaning, and a lot of times I try to talk to people from the left, and I have a hard time because they misinterpret me, but they don't understand my motive. My motive is actually to understand things. So I can't understand things if I don't talk to the left and to the right. I can't understand things fully where people are coming from, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn more, basically, is what I'm doing.
Fair point. My door is always open to you, man. I do got to move it on, but anytime, come on back. You're always welcome back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, looking in the comments. Once Trump got beat, now you have to check everything people do. I actually agree with that. I actually believe that right now in the current environment we're in, and by the way, tap the screen, 600 plus of you in here, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. You know I'm always going to solicit helping the like count go up. It helps out the algorithm. The program is MAGA friendly. That is what is on the FYP, so it tends to bring in more MAGA. But I do agree with the comment because in our current environment where no one trusts most of the systems in place, I do attribute some of that to Trump. I believe if Trump had conceded the 2020 election, you wouldn't have anywhere near the level of distrust in our voting systems. And like my last caller said, who tends to sound like he's more independent or right-leaning, as he stated, a lot of the criticisms to our systems made by Trump have come without any evidence or proof that it was actually valid. But folks bought into that, and now they don't trust these systems, such as the Dominion voting machines. I believe at this point, Dominion has done an awesome job in a court of law of proving that the overwhelming amount of complaints against Dominion were fabricated out of thin air. But yet most voters that lean right don't trust those machines. And a host of it is based on fabricated claims. Not to say the machines are perfect, but they overwhelmingly proved in a court of law that most of the complaints against those machines was false, was completely fabricated. So I do believe, even though there are reasons to distrust our systems, it was overstated during the Trump administration because they literally accused everything that involved the voting process, even up to including Ruby Freeman, for instance. That also, in a court of law, looks like that they went overboard with accusing those two women of what they were doing. Because they too are winning judgments against members of the Trump administration. If this stuff was true, they shouldn't be losing like that all over the damn place. It's not like every judge ruling against these civil suits are liberal. They're not doing it only in liberal states. It's happening everywhere. It's not along party lines. They're losing based on some of these fraudulent claims they were making. This stuff was not as bad as folks were suggesting. Going back to the box, looking in, I don't know what I just clicked. Hang on a second. There we go. All right, we'll keep it moving with Electric Wolf 45. Good afternoon. I don't know what I just hit there. My screen is freezing up. Oh, okay, I got the different, Joey. Now we're asking about Biden's poll numbers. Biden's poll numbers for lack of a better term, Biden's poll numbers suck, despite Trump dealing with a hell of a lot of court cases, formally impeached twice. Why is Biden's poll numbers so poor when his competition is Trump? Okay, Joey, you got an audio issue. Can you hear me? Okay, we're gonna have to move it on. Apparently, something's happening with my last caller's audio. That's the question we're asking. Why is his poll number so dismal compared to Trump, who's dealing with a host of litigation, a host of criticism, even his own party with Nikki Haley is saying he's the most toxic candidate on the Republican side, yet he's not really losing to Biden in the polls. Electric Wolf, what say you?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back on.
All right. What are we talking about? The poll numbers for Biden?
Why are they so bad considering all of the shit that Trump is dealing with right now?
Wow, because I mean, look at the state of the country. I mean, it just sucks. I mean, they're just not happy about it. I mean, even Democrats aren't happy about it. I mean, there comes a point in time where you're going to have to place blame, and it looks like you're doing it too. I mean, you're realizing, you can only blame Trump for so much. Yeah. And it's like, like you were talking about the leader, you're the coach, they're going to win or lose. I mean, the guy just sucks. He's not all there. I just don't think he's all there. And if he was there, he would still be a detriment to this country. I just think their mindset is against the country, not for the country.
Mm. So you do believe if we were to reelect Trump, he would get inflation, gas prices, and all this stuff under control?
I think so. I mean, I don't think it would be because he pushed the button. I think because of the fact that there would be a better... people's outlook would be better once Trump got elected.
Well, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. I want you to respond to this. I want you to respond to this because it goes against what both you and I are saying, but it is a comment, and I want you to give me your take on it. DB in the comments said 70+% of Democrats approve of Biden, and the economy is great right now. How do you respond to that?
It's bullshit. You and I know it. I mean, if you're going to stand outside the Democratic Party and take a poll and say, hey, how do you think the president is doing? Well, of course, he's going to get great numbers. I mean, but you and I mean, you can tell. It's like you were talking about companies that are gouging.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that. I do believe some of these companies are taking advantage, and they're saying, well, let's just raise the price here because, I mean, we need to keep our bottom line at the same no matter what happens with this inflation or whatever, and fuck the people. I mean, that's just the way it's always been. But I mean, here it's just getting more and more out of hand. I mean, do you believe that President Trump could convince companies in a free society, a capitalist society, to stop gouging? I think he would because I think he'd go about it different. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think he would just call them out public. And these companies don't like that. Well, the liberals do. They're like, oh, well, let them sue us. The liberals do that. I mean, if you want to talk about calling them out public, Bernie Sanders in particular, liberals definitely call out corporations. But no one gives a shit what Bernie Sanders says. Yeah. No one cares what Bernie Sanders says. Yeah, no one cares what Ocasio-Cortez says. I mean, no one cares about what those crazies say. The thing is that when Trump comes out and says it, I mean, he says it right to he'll probably call a freaking round table, and they'll be more than happy to show up, and then he'll just lay it on them, and they'll be like, God damn, this guy's really screwing us right now. And it's right in front of the cameras and stuff like that, and he's going to put them on the spot. That's what Trump does. That's what he did to the Democrats. Now, in regards to what you're saying, Trump would invite them to a round table and really hammer them right to their face. I make no qualms that I lean left, but damn, I can't disagree with you on that, and I want to. I think that is one of the... You know that's what he do. Yeah, I think that is... Yeah, and I think that's one of the primary reasons why a lot of people, particularly on the right, they like and support Trump, is that I do agree he would do something like that on national TV. He would do that. I do believe that. It's kind of like you and me. We seem. I mean, I'm a pretty nice guy, believe it or not. I'm a really nice guy. My wife tells me that my anger has gone away, and I'm not the same person in a bad way, because I don't argue for every little thing, like at a restaurant, things like that. But the thing is, you seem like the type also. If you see that you're having dinner and they're trying to shaft you, or they're trying to double bill you, you're gonna stand up and say something, right? And you don't care if there's people listening.
Yeah.
That's what Trump's gonna do.
However, there is a flip side to that coin. While Trump is known for, as you say, speaking his mind, no filter and things like that, we do live in a society where we are entitled to the First Amendment and free speech. And God knows I'm a huge proponent of that. However, there is a such thing called free speech with consequences. So while he is known for speaking his mind, it hurts him probably. It helps him, because there are plenty of times when he's opened his mouth and spoke his mind, and even MAGA's like, I don't know why he said that.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're talking about being president and taking care of business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about him being there, and what are the companies going to say? Oh, they're going to come out publicly and say, oh, how dare he talk to us like that? The people, no matter whether they're left or right, they're going to be like, dude, you deserved it. That's what you get for doing that.
Yeah.
You got caught. You got buzzed. I mean, there's no one's going to run to their defense, and whoever runs to their defense, those are the people you don't vote for. That's the thing, because of one thing, you may hate Trump, but whether you like it or not, he defends this country. He cares more about this country than he cares about NATO, than about Ukraine, than about Russia, than about China. He doesn't give a shit about any other country more than he does about
But you
the
can't.
United States.
Yeah, but see, and that's where I was with you until you went to the global side of things, because you're not going to have allies when you're on stage saying, I only give a damn about my own country. I don't want to shake hands with you in NATO when you're at the meeting. Hold on, wait a minute. Go ahead.
If I'm going to invite you to dinner, everybody shows up, you bring your girlfriend, and you want me to pay the whole bill because I'm the wealthiest, you're going to kiss my ass. And that's what the NATO does. That's what every single country does. They kiss our ass because we're the biggest payer of everything. We pay 75% of the United Nations bills.
And do you think
of the NATO bills?
if America,
when they asked to, hey, we need you to pay for the tip.
But let me ask you that. In regards to we paying most of the bill and they kissing our ass, if we demanded that they all pay their equal share, do you think they would still kiss our ass?
You're damn right.
Why?
In fact, we still pay more.
No. I'm asking you.
Even if they paid more.
So you're saying
we're still paying more.
So you're saying if the countries had to step up how much they're paying, they wouldn't do anything different to the United States?
What do you mean do anything different?
Like maybe not favor us as much.
We don't have to be favored. We're going to be respected.
Yeah,
it's
you
that
do.
simple. That's what happened. When he threatened to leave NATO, he wasn't going to leave NATO, but they shit their pants because they're like, shit, we're nothing without these guys.
Yeah.
And they know it.
Yeah, well, here's why I totally disagree with that, and this is why I say that. America foots the bill for NATO. You and I agree with that. However, if Trump gets his wish and makes these countries demand these countries start paying their 2-3% of their GDP or whatever the requirement is, if you're going to make me pay more for something, what's the first thing I'm going to start doing? If I was getting a discount from you and now you want me to pay market value, the first thing I'm going to start doing now is shopping around. Maybe somebody else will give me the discount you no longer give me. China, Russia, some of these other countries would gladly offer military protection to break up NATO. So we're getting a benefit by them paying less. We are the boss, you're right. People are kissing our ass, you're right. But there's a huge benefit to that.
No, but there's a difference. See, this is why you're wrong. This is why I think you're wrong. You're looking at it that these guys are looking, oh, well, we're getting a discount. No, you're not paying your part. You said we were
That's a discount.
Check up into these pieces. That well, no, it's an
unenforced
Okay,
discount.
what-
Because they're
yeah.
thinking it's a discount when really what they're doing is they're not doing their part.
Whatever you
Holding
want
their
to,
end of the bargain.
yeah, if you want to phrase it as not properly enforced, their contributions are not properly enforced, which is the proper term for it. Whatever the case may be, they are saving money in this environment. Trump comes along, Trump comes along and puts them in an environment where they are no longer saving money. They would start looking at other things that maybe they do for the United States, like you got bases over here, or we let you go through our ports and don't charge you, whatever the case may be. If you're going to step up the request from me, some of the favors I do for you are going to end. That's how I believe that would happen.
Well, that may be true, but the thing is, guess what's going to happen? We're still going to do whatever we want because we're the United States. Is it arrogant? Is it cocky? Yes, because they need us. In order for them to exist, they need us. Let them go. Let them go look for China.
That ain't
Let 'em
gonna
go
work.
look for Russia to replace us? Shit, come on.
And it is
Knock
that.
China and Russia on their ass in a second.
It is that mindset that if I was Germany, France, or Israel, or some other country, and I heard the leader of America say what you're saying, they need us, so they're still going. I would start shopping around. I mean, because you're making it sound like you're just a peon. You need us. I can do any damn thing I want to you because you need. I mean, that is a really condescending tone towards our allies.
Yeah, we can do anything to these allies if we wanted to, but we don't because we're America. That's the thing. Go shop around for America Do. There's no America Do. There's only one America. It's that simple. Whether they like it or not, they need us. Do we need them? We would like them, yes, because we have our base. But that's fine. Let's close all our bases and bring our people home. Let's see how they like that shit. They're not going to like it. We do more for them no matter what. Whether they pay their fair share or not, we do more, and we will always do more than they do because we're like 3 times, 10 times their size.
You and I disagree on that. I do believe that the reason we're doing all of this stuff is because America's benefiting from it. I don't think the world is constantly at a situation where somebody's always about to attack somebody else. That's how we live here in America, is that we believe somebody always coming to take our freedom or try to kill us. A lot of these other nations out here that have not been part of NATO, they're not constantly at war. It's not as threatening as we often make it sound. And I do believe some of these countries would say, we don't need America, and they would do just fine.
Yeah, they probably would, but they don't want to run that risk because of the fact of the way we live our life.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
The only good thing and bad thing about America is all the freedom that we have. That's why we have the issues that we have, because we can't find anything. The only thing we can bitch about is people's gender and people's skin color. We're still bitching about that while we're ordering cars, buying groceries, doing it. We're not without anything.
Do you think, you mentioned freedom. Do you believe America is the most free country on earth?
I think so.
Yeah,
I just think we take advantage of it.
Yeah,
We take it for granted.
I'll submit to you that you could smoke a joint and walk down the street with a prostitute in half of Western Europe. There are a lot of freedoms you have in other countries that we don't have here. In America, your biggest benefit is you can climb the socioeconomic scale probably easier than in most countries. But when it comes to blatant freedoms, like being able to marry a same-sex person or even interracial marriage, that shit's been free in other countries long before it was here in America.
Well, yeah, but we're already over that. I mean, do you really think Americans' biggest dreams is to walk down the street with a hooker and a joint? I mean, come on, we don't give a shit about that. I mean, let the rest of the countries do that if they want. If that's what they want to consider freedom, knock yourselves out. If I'm able to work my ass off and have my own business, my kids, my family, whatever, attend a gay wedding, do or not go to a gay wedding if I don't want to, whatever, and I have that right, I'll stick to that freedom than a hooker and a joint.
What about the freedom to get sick and not go into bankruptcy?
Well, you have that. The thing is that we have that freedom because we're gonna get checked in by a hospital. They're gonna take care of us the best they can. So you're saying in America, nobody getting sick is going into bankruptcy. Well, I mean, you may go into bankruptcy because of the fact of the bills going so high, but the thing is, you've got to be able to work something out with a payment plan where you
can't. Whether you can or can't, I understand. Don't think I'm simple. I may be simplifying it, but I understand there's issues. Believe me.
Yeah.
The thing is that unless the only way we're going to do some sort of health care for all or whatever, it's going to hurt the country because we can't make people wait on us. We can't force them.
Then why is it happening overseas then? We say all of these things cannot happen in America. Why is almost all of
tiny these countries are? Look at how tiny these countries are. We're a humongous country. We need to work.
It doesn't. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. When you say how tiny these countries are, but how big America is, remember America is actually 50 different countries on one landmass. No different than the European Union. We're actually 50 different countries. Why not do it at the state level? Every single state could have its own universal health care. Then it's an apples to apples comparison.
Okay, then we were trying to do something like that, but McCain killed that. And that's what John McCain killed on that deal when he put the thumbs down. But that's beside the point. Now, if you want to go state to state, I'm in on doing that, crossing state lines and all that. But you know what we're so busy about? We're too busy forcing our kids transition. We're too busy to accept gay, trans, and gay and trans. We're too busy making sure that we understand that all black people are victims, that they can't think for themselves, things like that. That's what we're more concerned about than what you're talking about, which I'm in. I'm in if you want to.
I don't hear President Trump talking about running the country and restoring health care like you just said. John McCain's dead. John McCain is dead. What about right now? Huh?
He's too busy defending himself on bullshit.
So,
I mean, once he gets in, he's got way more stuff to do than universal health care. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen because he's going to have to fend off way too many things.
So if Trump is too busy defending himself against bullshit charges and things like that, why not put a candidate up that don't have to deal with that?
Well, we will. Once Trump wins, there'll be no charges.
All right, Wolf. You know how we do it. Always a pleasure. Anytime. Come on back. Electric Wolf 45. I love talking to you. Gotta move it on. All right, looking in the you too. Electric Wolf. Always a good conversation. He leans right, I lean left. Make a good team. Looking in the comments. We will never be a socialist country like you leftists want. Well, Brown's backer, also a friend of the program. I don't think a lot of folks on the right know what a socialist country actually is. Giving the citizens universal health care doesn't turn us into Venezuela, or when Obama was in office, it was socialist Greece, because Greece was the failed economy at the time. Now that Greece has restored itself somewhat, they're called to Venezuela. Once Venezuela gets better, they'll pick the next worst off country. But you don't look at, because that's what they were saying. He wants to give us universal health care. We're a socialist country. He wants to give us, an extra 2 to 4 years of schooling on top of high school. That's a socialist country. If that is true, that means all of Europe is socialism. What other country on earth, for you folks like Brownsbacker, who think that these democratic policies makes us a socialist country, what other country on earth is a capitalist nation? Because they all offer this. Every single one of our allies offers some form of universal health care, and many of them offer tuition, if not full rides through additional schooling after high school. Are we the only capitalist nation on earth? Because you're saying these policies makes us socialists. Let me know what other country on earth is also a capitalist country. I'd be curious to hear that, because it doesn't seem to take much for folks to suggest, well, you're a socialist promoter. I don't get it. Looking in the comments. So who pays the doctors, says Greg Towner. Go to Germany and ask them how they get paid. Ask them that in the UK. How about going to Italy or Spain and asking them that? I used to live in Australia. The doctors live pretty damn good down there. All of those countries have universal health care. I don't see doctors homeless sitting out on the side of the road with IVs helping people out. They're doing very well. The difference in America is folks who are at the top are doing significantly better. by far than they are in these socialist countries. It's not that, or whatever, I don't even want to call it, because they're not socialist countries. You can open up a business in Australia. I actually did, by the way. I ran a clothing store in Campbelltown, which is a suburb of Sydney, Australia. My own store, purchased it with my own money, so I know it can be done. So the idea that offering universal health care or assisting young adults with 2 to 4 more years of education is socialism. That's crazy. What's the difference between giving them free K through 8 education and 9th through 12 education versus 12 to 14 or 12 to year 16? You're just adding a few more years onto it. If giving American citizens 4 years of college is free, if that's socialism, then so are the K through 8 years. I mean, basically, we're already a socialist system. I don't see the difference. Same thing with universal health care versus going into an ER where they stabilize you. If you believe government paid for health care is socialism, then we're already there. Because if you get shot in the street or run over by a bus and you have no income, the emergency room will still treat you. Is that socialism? We already have that. We're not suggesting anything more than correcting the systems we already have in place or maybe upgrading them. These systems are already there. You're just adding a few more years on to school. Most of your education already anyway. So where does the socialism part come in? Look at Fox. We'll keep it moving with I don't know what that says. Chris Blessed Dad. Appreciate you folks holding on. Tap the screen. Get your boy to 50,000 likes. You still get billed, my guy. Yeah, but you don't have to pay the bill. You're not going to go to jail if you go to the ER. But I do agree with you. They should have a system in place where you don't get billed at all. Just like if you go to elementary school or high school. Once you graduate, you don't get billed. I believe a more educated America is beneficial to the country. If you want to talk about America first, wouldn't one of the best ideas be to make sure American citizens are highly educated so you're not having to give visas and employ folks from India, Pakistan, and Asia? I mean, because that's what we're doing right now because they focus more on education than we do. They end up coming here and taking the jobs that we cannot currently fill because there's not enough educated Americans to take them. Looking into Chris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. How you doing?
I'm in the trenches, man. I'm in the trenches. Biden's poll numbers. Biden's poll numbers out of discussion. With Trump being referred to as such a toxic candidate, why the hell is Biden not outperforming Trump by a hell of a lot? His poll numbers are even worse according to some polls.
Well, for one, as you know, I definitely ain't right. You definitely ain't left.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But, I mean, my personal opinion, Biden has so many gaffes. And I do not think Biden's reelectable. I just don't. And as much as I have never, and you and I are about the same age, I've never seen a man be indicted. Well, number one, be indicted, but even just like bad media reports would drop a candidate out. And all of a sudden, he's being indicted. His numbers are going up. There's a movement, and I think I associate it as much with Obama and the New Hope. It seems like there's really a movement.
Yeah, but here's the issue. Here's the issue with that, though. Here's the issue with suggesting that Trump is like Obama with a movement in hope and things like that. When Obama had the movement and folks were favoring hope and change, it was based on a candidate they had never seen and they thought was very promising. We know what Trump is capable of. We've seen half of his term. If he gets reelected, half of his term is already over with. So, I mean, are we expecting some form of a different type of president if Trump is reelected? We know what he can do. We've seen, whether you like it or not, you already know what Trump is about. There's a movement to get back the same guy.
Well, I think that's maybe what we're looking at is, I think Biden was brought in on the idea of like, man, I just don't like Trump. I can't deal with these tweets. There was, and people voted for Biden. I think the election was fair. I'm not going to sit here and go down that rabbit hole. But I think a lot of people voted for Biden for a change, and it's almost like buyer's regret. They're buyer's remorse, and they're like, you know what? I can deal with the tweets, man. I just want gas to be back down to 150, and I want somebody in the White House that isn't walking off the stage in a ceremony. I mean, he did that. I just don't know where he is.
So, but let me ask you, in regards to the suggestion, we can deal with the tweets because we want to get back to paying a decent amount for gas and having a decent economy. You started out the conversation by admitting you don't believe that the election was stolen. You believe it was a fair election. I believe that's the term you used. How do you feel voting for it? How do you feel?
The election was done by the rules that were in place.
Right.
And that's the way it is.
So if the election was fair and it was held by the rules that were in place, according to your own words, how do you feel voting for a guy? Hang on. How do you feel voting for a guy who keeps telling everybody it was stolen from him, even though you feel confident it was held properly, which would equate to the fact that he has to be lying. If the election was actually held properly according to the rules that were in place, his claims that it was stolen and he won by a landslide are actually false.
Okay, to answer that one, I can live with that because, again, I put the candy on. I should have put it in before, but by the rules that were in place. Now, this is something I will say about Republicans and conservatives or libertarians, anybody you want to call like on the right side. Here's the deal. The rules are the rules, and all getting ballots, going and talking to people. Almost these things are voting by ballot. These are all okay. I think conservatives need to get away from I vote on the day of the election. Well, something might happen. Go ahead and get your vote in. Go ahead and have that lead. Go ahead and have all those things. See, and so what I'm saying is, by the rules that were in place, I think that Biden won the election. But
So
I understand what Trump is saying, and I kind of feel what he's saying. I don't think he says it. Maybe it's my take.
But what about the notion that literally hundreds, if not thousands of Trump supporters, folks who identify as MAGA, have thrown their entire lives away based on Trump claiming the election was stolen? We just had a member of the leader of the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers. One got 18 years in prison. The other one got 22 years. They've thrown their entire lives away based on something that even you're admitting was not true.
Again, on that is a personal choice, and it's not a choice I made. I'll put it this way: I wasn't there. I didn't go to the rally. I could have. I didn't go because at that point I was.
But hold on. I don't disagree with you that it was a personal choice for them to do that, but they did it based on what the president was telling them, which you're admitting was a lie.
I think in his. Sorry, something happened on the road.
Okay.
I think in his feelings, I do not think Trump feels like he's telling. I don't feel like Trump feels like he's telling a lie, but I do think he could have put it out there in a better way. Now, do I think January 6th was Trump's fault? No, I really don't. I think this indictment's going to find out. That indictment, I think, is going to go away. There's another indictment I'm a little worried about, but that indictment I'm not at all worried about. And honestly, his speech even said, "Now go peacefully to the Capitol." That was his words. Now, again, personal choice, personal freedom, both found in, it's what we have in America.
No, I don't. Yeah, you're not gonna get an argument with me about free speech. I'm a huge proponent of that. I make that clear. But when you suggest that Trump is not responsible for January 6th, which could be we could debate that, of course. But do you agree that if Trump had not misrepresented what happened in the election, January 6th would never have happened?
I think Trump did the same thing, and this is going back, and I'm trying to be careful with this. But on the liberal side, on the left side, there's been people that definitely did not support George W. Bush. The election was stolen from Al Gore, and people saying it. They people on the Senate floor saying it.
But he didn't. But wait a minute, he didn't.
Politics.
He didn't just wait. Hold on. He didn't just say like Hillary Clinton or what is the black woman down in Georgia? I can't think of her name right now. But he didn't.
What is her name? Oh gosh, she's
Stacey Abrams.
great.
Stacey Abrams. He didn't just say, like Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or even Al Gore, he didn't just say the election was taken from him. He showed up in Washington and invited everybody to come out there and protest like that, leading to many of them folks, well over 1,000 of them, really ruining their lives. Ashley Babbitt never came back home. You don't hold him accountable for any of that?
Again, I think it's personal choice. And the reason I say that, if I had been there, I would have not minded free speech. You and I are big on free speech. I was in the military. I fought for everybody's freedom to say whatever they want to say, whether I agree with them or not. They have that right. Period. And I go back to, I think that's personal choice. Me personally, even if I had been there, I wasn't going in the Capitol. I wasn't going to do that. I think there comes a point when you say, hey, this is a little too much, guys. Let's pull it back. And, at that point, do I have the ability to do?
Well,
they walk away. I mean, I feel for them. I do, but I think it went too far.
So how about the fire in a crowded theater argument? Whereas if you yell fire and people jump all over each other and shit like that, that is personal choice. They're the ones stampeding each other. You're not doing that. However, if you're yelling fire and there's no fire, Trump is yelling that the election is stolen and you're admitting it's not stolen. You ignore the fact that the only reason all of these people are making these bad decisions is because he gave them information that's not necessarily true.
Now, I mean, in my personal belief, I also think there should be election reform. I don't think
I'm fine with all that.
I don't think Georgia did anything wrong with saying you have to have an ID to vote. That's not, Biden coming out saying it's Jim Crow 2.0. That's insane. That's rallying at the other side.
I agree with you on that.
You have to have an ID to buy beer, man. You have to
Let me respond to that. Here, I'm with you. I don't think there's any reason for a full-grown adult to not have a damn ID. You and I agree on that. However, here's a problem I have. If you're going to require everyone show up to a polling place and actually cast their vote in person, damn it, make sure they can cast their vote in an expeditious manner. To make folks show up to vote knowing it's going to take 8 damn hours to vote and you're passing laws so nobody can hand them water, or you're shutting down polling places, limiting polling hours and stuff like that, looks like you have some sort of agenda. If you're going to make people show up to vote, no matter what city it's in, there should be a certain amount of polling places per voting residence in every county, so that a county like Harris County, where Houston is, does not have only 1 or 2 polling places when there's millions of people there. So I'm fine with making people come to vote, but no one should have to take more than, say, a couple hours to cast their ballot.
I'm getting worried because you and I agreeing on too much.
Okay. All right. All right.
But I'm saying I agree. Now, see, I'm from Georgia. My girlfriend lives in Dallas. Okay, so I'm actually in Texas right now, driving back home. And what I'm saying is, like in Georgia, when they changed the law, I can speak on my state. Some of the things that weren't said about it were this: we actually added 14 days to our voting in early voting. My experience at the polls in the last 2 presidential elections has been amazing. I mean, I literally voted in less than half an hour.
So did I. I got to move it on, but I got one last question. I do got to move it on, but I want to ask you this one last question before we go. Why is it that all of the lengthy lines to vote are only in Republican states? You don't hear about long lines like that in Illinois. Why are they only in Republican states, those long-ass lines at the polling places?
Well, you say, but you don't hear about it prime example, I don't think you hear about it in all of them. I think we can pick and choose. I do agree with you. I think there should be more polling stations in urban areas, like Fulton County, the Metro Atlanta should have more polling stations, period. They should. That is something that's definitely happened. But the other thing is, and you don't hear about long lines in Florida. Florida's definitely a red state. I think Georgia's a purple state now. I mean,
the governor is the one that's mainly over that, though. The governor in these states is generally a Republican. Where you, even in Ohio, Cleveland is a the towns are Democrat.
Issued by National Weather Service. There is a safer route available.
Okay.
Safer route for me.
All right. Okay. I don't know. His GPS sounded like it took over, but definitely enjoyed the conversation. But that is a problem. I see somebody said I waited 3 hours in New Jersey. Fact is, you shouldn't have to wait more than a couple hours to vote. If you're going to force people to come in to vote, I would also agree with many folks in the comment section suggesting it should be a holiday. I do believe the liberals would overwhelmingly favor making Election Day a holiday. I think that the only pushback would come from the right, because the right tends to support big business, and now you have to pay employees to not show up to work, or you're missing lost productivity. It would be the folks on the right that would be against making Election Day a holiday. I think you would have no problem getting the liberals to support making Election Day a holiday. So I agree with that. And I have stated that if everyone has to have an ID, which I'm in 100% backing that, the government should hand it out. How much does it cost to take a piece of plastic and type some data on it and imprint a picture on it when you're handing it out to 100 million people? You can make these IDs in bulk for probably about a nickel or more. Give the voters an ID. If you want them to have this, just print them and hand them out. I think that also the right would probably be against that as well. And I'm going to tell you why, and I'll go back to the box. We know for a fact that higher voter turnout works against the right. Lower voter turnout works in favor of the right. So generally, when you hear someone trying to make it easier to vote, whether it is allowing you to mail in votes or expanding the hours and all of this shit like that, or vote without an ID, it's liberal. Liberals want it to be as easy to vote as possible, which could invite avenues of fraud. There is no denying that if you make it easier to vote, it makes it easier to cheat the system. But when you hear people trying to make it easier to vote, it tends to be liberal. When you hear people putting up hurdles to vote, such as you need to have an ID, which I agree with, or you can't hand somebody a bottle of water in line, which I disagree, or moving polling places, passing laws that you can only have voting in a established building and some of this other stuff, it's generally people on the right. And just like the fraud that could come from the way the left handles voting, the fraud can come on the right. Because if you make voting more difficult, you're going to eventually disqualify people who could have rightfully voted, such as signature match. How many of us will sign a document today the exact same way they did 5 or 6 years ago? And because your signature no longer matches, your vote could get thrown out. So both sides are doing things that could ultimately cause, on the left people, on the left, folks could end up voting that shouldn't vote. And on the right, folks who legally had the right to vote could get their votes disqualified. Because the right is squeezing down the ability to vote. You can't get out and drive somewhere, but they want you to come in and vote. Or it's raining outside and the line is 7 hours long. And this is the only way they'll let you vote, is to stand in that line that takes 7 hours to cast a ballot. You think some people are not going to get out of that line and say, fuck it? So the right is hoping that. Just like some might say what the left is hoping in illegal immigrant votes or something like that. You're not going to get an honest system no matter who the hell is in office, period. You've seen recently in, North Carolina, even the Supreme Court ruled that Alabama was gerrymandering votes against African Americans. I believe Florida also lost a case like that. 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. And even they're telling Alabama, this shit is racist. What you're doing is really black votes. So both sides are doing this. Anyhow, moving on. They want to take polling down in cities where you have these lines. Like I said, no one should be in line to vote more than a couple hours max. Voting is like any damn thing else in life. The more hurdles you put up to do something, the less people that are going to accomplish the task. Period. If I make it harder to vote, fewer people are going to vote. So don't deny that. Most Americans do not have the resolve to wait 8 hours to cast a ballot. Most Americans are not going to do that. And do it in areas that are heavily congested, urban areas. You can rest assured that most of those are Democrats you're getting rid of. I mean, it's just plain and simple. If you're standing in line in Cleveland, a heavily Democratic city, and the lines are 8 hours long, probably 80 to 90% of the people saying fuck this line are Democrats. You don't think that's being done by design? You think that's just coincidental? No. Both sides try to game the system in their favor. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. If you're suggesting otherwise, you're being disingenuous. Going back to the box. We'll keep it moving with Liz. I cannot pronounce the last name. Good afternoon, Liz. Biden's poll numbers are dismal. Why the hell is that compared to Trump? Why is Biden's poll numbers, with Trump going through so much shit, why can't Biden break out the pack?
I kind of think that's for two reasons. First of all, polls have been shown to not always be accurate. I'm an American, but I live in Spain, and it actually just happened in Spain. They recently had regional elections in May and then the presidential election in July. And they were predicting that the central right leader was going to take the presidential election. And here it's a bit different. It's a multi-party system, and they usually have like a coalition government. So like the leaders of different political parties kind of have to make agreements to govern together. But they were expecting that in this case, the leader of their center-right party was going to take the whole election and have the absolute majority. How does
that? Okay, I'm admitting confusion. How does that tie into why Biden's poll numbers are low?
Because of the polling systems that exist, sometimes they're skewed. They're not accurate because it showed to be totally false in Spain. I mean,
okay,
that didn't happen.
So, but even, and that could be, I'm not gonna totally disagree with that. But even when we're speaking amongst each other, even if you lean left and you frequent left-leaning political forums, or even on social media, I mean, there's no denying there's not a hell of a lot of excitement about Joe Biden, even in forums that are all liberal.
Oh, no. I mean, and I lean left. And, you know, if there was another candidate out there, I would probably prefer that candidate over Biden. But, you know, nobody's stepping up right now. And so it looks like it's coming down to the choice is going to be Biden and Trump. In that case, I'm going to vote Biden. But, you know, he's not the person that I would particularly prefer if there were other people out there from the left. How
do you think Biden, if you had to give a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F, how do you think Biden is currently doing as commander-in-chief? He's about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through. How do you think he's doing so far?
Maybe a B or C. Because, I mean, the economy is getting better. The passing of the infrastructure bill was really important.
What the fuck? All right. Unfortunately, I'm talking to you folks on YouTube. Something happened again. This is what I keep talking about. Something happened again where TikTok decided to take down the live stream. This is how easy it is to get banned on TikTok. For you folks who have been tuning in on YouTube, did you hear any damn thing that was worthy of TikTok taking that down? Now, they put the violation reason once again as misinformation. What the hell did she say? Or someone say, now I'm going to appeal it. This happened yesterday. We appealed it and we won the appeal in about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll appeal it again. But this is why I am trying so hard to find another social media platform, because it is simply too easy to get removed from TikTok. I mean, that was, and I see in the comments, and Chick said that was actually a normal debate. Yeah, it was normal as you can. Other than maybe me exercising a few swear words, we could have had that debate on CNN or Fox News. Why the hell was that taken down? That could have been actually placed on a family-oriented network, and they took it down. I don't know. Other than there are probably some haters or some trolls out there that would do that. What I forgot to do, and I certainly apologize, even though folks are watching me here, I got to get the damn word out that we're running a simultaneous or a simulcast on YouTube. I got to get more viewers here because YouTube does not take down the program on an abundance of caution, I guess I would say. I don't know what makes it go down that easy other than most likely somebody out there is hating on the fact that the program via social media has gotten somewhat successful. I mean, my numbers have grown. I mean, it's quite common to have over 1,000 people tuning in for the entire span of the program. So I'm looking in the comments. They said vaccine information, election disinformation. I don't know how anyone stating that I don't think the election was held properly should qualify to be taken off social media. I think every single election we've ever had in American history features people that do not believe it was held properly. Hell, I'm black. I couldn't even participate in most of the damn elections we've had throughout American history. You think Thomas Jefferson, a slave owner, would have won if I could vote? Hell no. So I don't think that even the founding fathers won fair and square. But why the hell should a person be banned or blocked because they don't believe the election was held properly? What part of the First Amendment and free speech is this shit? I could understand if we were on here promoting Nazism or promoting the harm of human beings or something like that, or children or even animals. But simply stating your point in what's supposed to be a free society, this should not be happening. I had a caller on the program suggest America is the freest country on earth. How the hell is that for a free nation? Yeah, the app is owned by the Chinese, but we're in America. We're in American conversing with fellow Americans. This shit shouldn't be happening. Nevertheless, I do appreciate you folks tuning in on YouTube. I do have a very nice Canon high-def camera that I really want to use on this platform. I'm just not savvy enough to get the damn thing to work because I could give you guys a much better viewing experience and all of that. I want to move the program over to YouTube just simply for the fact that you don't get all the banning and blocking, but we don't have the call-in format, which is what makes the program, I think that's what allows me to provide decent content is the interaction between the participants. On YouTube is ran more like a podcast. I think I can run a podcast, but I'm more interested in hearing from the folks. I'm not a know-it-all. And podcasts are ran more in a know-it-all fashion where I'm going to preach to you, similar to what the hell I'm doing right now. I want you to preach to me as well. I want to hear when you think I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I want to hear that in your voice. I want to hear you speak. So that is the reason why I would prefer to do it talk radio style as opposed to a podcast. But the way things are going, I don't think I'm going to have a damn choice because TikTok will not let your boy talk. And I do appreciate the comments, Brownsbacker and Beth saying you do well. I do appreciate that. And then Belchick says, no, you cool. And also, too, YouTube makes the damn comments disappear off the screen, so I'm constantly having to bring them back up. Now you cool. We don't agree on things, but you're a good man. I can tell. Thank you, Ann. Appreciate that. Friend of the program, certainly. Free speech is being suppressed big time. 100% agree with that. I don't think you're going to escape that whether you're right. I just think they have a different type of agenda in what they want to suppress. I think that, the LGBT and all of that shit, the left don't want you to speak negatively of them. I think if you start speaking negatively of Trump, the right ain't a big fan of your free speech rights either, such as Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the anthem. 100% protected by free speech. You think the right was okay in defending his right to free speech? Hell no, you should be a patriot. So I'm not a fan of interfering with free speech, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. And I don't think there is either side you can go on and not have someone try to interfere with your right to free speech. I don't think forcing Christians to deal with the LGBT community is any different than forcing a conscientious objector to be patriotic. You can't force someone to be a patriot. And that's what forcing you to stand and forcing you to sing and acknowledge the anthem is. That's forced patriotism. I don't believe in forcing people to do either. I think you should have your own free rights to do both. Nevertheless, you know what just happened. I do appreciate you folks rolling with your boy, even on YouTube. Hopefully we win the appeal. It's your boy, Tim, the handsome liberal. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you tomorrow.